Good morning, children. Today we are going to take a look at the operational support systems. Before going into OSS or operational support system, we need to take a look at the special purpose software. A special purpose application software is a type of software created to execute one specific task. For example, movie editor, sound editor, photo editor, web page design and development, etc. Generic and special purpose software. Generic softwares can do many different tasks, example word processing, spreadsheet and database, whereas special purpose is designed to do only one particular task. For example, IT return, accounting package, web browser, etc. So, another example of special purpose application software could be a camera application. So, a camera application on your phone will allow only to capture pictures. Another example would be a chess game which will allow us to play chess alone. Some of the examples of special purpose software include Tally and Busy. Children, Tally and Busy are special purpose software which is based on the financial accounting. It has been created by the specific company. I hope you understood the difference between general purpose and special purpose application software. Now let us take a look at the layers of a computer system. At the bottommost part we have the hardware, above which we have the system software, above that we have the application software. So hardware includes the CPU, disk, mouse, printer, etc. System software, we all know, contains operating system and utility softwares, and the application softwares include spreadsheets, word processors, databases, browsers, computer games, etc. So the system software is the one which communicates with the hardware. If you take a look at this diagram, it clearly says that system software communicates with the hardware and application software communicates with the user. Next topic, let us take a look at the difference between system software and application software. So, based on the usage, system software enables the computer to function properly, whereas the application software enables the user to work efficiently with the documentation, letters, accounting reports and other presentations. The system software is the compulsory software. Each system has to have a system software to function, whereas the application software is not compulsory, it is optional. Based on the usage, based on the need, you can have the application software in your system or you may need not have it also. So based on the number of software, each computer should have only one system software or one operating system, whereas it may have any number of application softwares. It can have MS Word, it can have presentation, it can have database, any kind of application software and any number of it. Now, next function is dependency. A system software is always independent. It can function without any application software. But an application software cannot function alone. It needs the system software to work. Finally, based on the functionality, a system software provides the environment in which the applications run, whereas an application software provides the environment to enable the users to accomplish certain specific tasks. I hope you all understood the difference, children. Next, let us take a look at OSS, Operational Support Systems or Operation Support Systems. What is this OSS, children? So this OSS is installed by the communication service providers. The OSS takes care of the network components to operate, monitor, and analyze the network components. The OSS has been installed. Okay, it manages the computer or telephone networks on the client computer. This OSS is often installed on the server computer. So, to support the network processes, to maintain the network inventory, configure the network components, and to manage faults, we use OSS. Next, let us take a look at the defragmentation. Before going into defragmentation, we need to know what is fragmentation. Fragment means a section or a part. So where do we use this fragmentation? We use this fragmentation in memory location. So fragmentation is the process of storing a file in the memory either in contiguous form or scattered form based on the availability. So to store a file in the memory, we can store the file either in continuous form or scattered form. Sorry, it is not continuous, it is contiguous. So what is the difference between contiguous and continuous form? So take a look at this hard disk. Do you see different colored segments on the disk, children? Those are the stored files. Let me explain the difference between continuous and contiguous. If you see the above image, the upper part shows the continuous file where there is no interruption at all. In the lower part, you can see the blocks has a boundary or interruption. Hence, it is called as contiguous, not continuous. Okay. So, the lower part of the image shows the fragmented file where in between the memory blocks there are gaps. So, when a file is stored on a disk, the operating system searches for the available free block on the disk and stores the file there. If the file is too large for one block, the operating system searches for the next block and stores the next part of the file there. These blocks may not be in contiguous form or scattered all over the disk. This process is called as fragmentation. I hope you understood the process of fragmentation. Now, what are the disadvantages of fragmentation? The disadvantage of fragmentation is it slows down the retrieval of data. Because it is stored in a scattered form, it is very difficult and it is a very slow process to retrieve the data. In order to arrange the fragmented data and consolidate into contiguous area of the disk free space, we use a process called as defragmentation. So defragmentation is the process of arranging the data in a contiguous area of the disk space. So defragmentation usually runs on a scheduled basis, but you can also defragment the disk manually. So this is how the data looks in a fragmented disk and a defragmented disk. Here is another image showing the process of defragmentation. So do you see how the data are arranged? Each colored block represents the block of data which has been rearranged to form a contiguous memory location. So before the data was scattered and after defragmentation what happens? The data is stored in an organized manner. Isn't it useful, children, the defragmentation? It will help us to retrieve the data easily and very quickly. Now that we know the defragmentation process, let us see how to do it in our computer system. You have to go to Start, All Programs, Accessories, System Tools and choose the Disk Defragmenter. So when you choose this option, you get a separate window called as Disk Defragmenter window. I'll repeat the steps. Start all programs, accessories, system tools, and as soon as you click on the disk defragmenter option, the disk defragmenter dialog box appears. In the dialog box, if you see, you may need to choose the disk that you want to defragment. So, select the disk that you want to defragment. Once you have selected the disk, you can look at a button at the bottom of the screen called as defragment disk button. You can select that button and the disk will be defragmented. With this, our second chapter is complete. And with this, I'm going to close my session. But before closing, isn't it a routine to have a quiz? Let us have a short quiz. Are you ready, children? First question. Chess game is an example of dash software. Any guesses, children? Very good. It is special purpose software. Dash software is used for supporting network components. What is it, children? Very good. Operational support system software. Third question. The process of storing a file in memory either in contiguous form or scattered form is called as? Very good. Disk fragmentation. Fragmentation occurs when hard disk does not find dash memory to store files. What memory? Contiguous memory. Well done, children. So this is a YouTube link for you to watch. And now it's time to say bye. See you all in my next video. Until then, bye children.